Hey y'all! So this week we're about to head to an appointment, and so I had a little bit of time, and I wanted to go ahead and record this before I forgot. Yay! But I want to talk about the pros and cons of homeschooling. So anyone who's considering homeschooling, this is a great video to watch, just because this is what I considered before I started homeschooling. And I'm gonna start with the cons first. So con number one: you are never alone. See? Oh, sorry, you can't see that. See? You are never alone. You're constantly with somebody, which is kind of hard and kind of frustrating sometimes. Con number two is that it's basically like having a full-time job, so you don't really have time to do very much else. A lot of times when you're done for the day, you're just exhausted. And so you don't really want to clean or make dinner a lot of times. So con number three is that you have to plan ahead a lot of times. And I like to plan, but the planning that goes into some of the homeschooling stuff is kind of exhausting because it's kind of like monotonous stuff. Like, okay, today we get to do this again. And then like we do chores as part of our homeschooling stuff sometimes. And so that gets kind of frustrating too, because then I have to fight them, and I know I'm going to have to fight them on it. So that's a con. Number five, I want to say. Con number five is that when your husband gets home, you don't get alone time either, because they are always there. And so if your husband has a day off, or if your husband wants to just spend time with you kind of thing, unless you get like a babysitter or something, a lot of times that's really frustrating. Number six, the con of homeschooling is that my husband's not very supportive of me homeschooling. Like, he doesn't like the idea of it, and that's fine. I don't mind. It was my choice. I prayed about it, and I decided that it was best for my family that way. But with an unsupportive husband, it does make it exponentially harder. So my con number six is having an unsupportive husband, because he doesn't have the patience for it, so he automatically assumes that I don't have any patience for it. And some days are better than others, I'm not going to lie. But for the most part, I'm able to laugh off a lot of stuff, and I'm able to enjoy homeschooling more than I was before. Especially in the beginning when they were fighting all the time. Because we went to school for a little bit before we decided to... Sorry. We went to school for a little bit before we decided to homeschool. Now I'm going to do my pros, because I love my pros. My pros are, I get to see all their firsts. I get to see their first time writing their name. I get to see their first time reading the books. Their first time that a concept clicks when it comes to like math or science or anything like that. Their first experiments. I get to experience all of that. And I get to teach them things that apply into our life every day. That's also number two. I get to teach applicable things, not just things that my school thinks is appropriate, but things that I know they're going to need in the future. Pro number three, I can do a more faith-based learning than what they would teach in school. So I can make it so that my kids can learn about God and about how he loves them and how he created this earth for them because of the fact that he loves them, which is a huge pro in my opinion. Pro number four, it's a con, but it's also a pro. I love the fact that I get to spend all my time with my kids. I honestly do. My kids are so fun, and I get to see their little personalities, and I get to see how they work together, how they help each other, how they are able to help themselves. I have one that, if you've seen some of my older my older videos, you know that my oldest has ADHD, and so school for him was easy, but now that the ADHD is kind of kicking in a little bit more, it's a lot harder for him, and so he gets angry really, really quickly. And so I'm able to help my son to cope and to find good concepts and good ways to actually deal with his anger and his frustrations that he has throughout the day, which is a huge pro in my opinion. I'm able to help all of my children to be able to truly grow emotionally, and I'm not depending on somebody else to teach my children how to emotionally handle things. Number five, I am a huge proponent of this one. I'm able to give my kids, or put my kids in social situations where they learn how to deal with other people, and I get to be the one who helps them to learn what's appropriate and what's not. I get to be the one to learn how to, or to teach them how to how to react in situations where like somebody's bullying them or they're bullying somebody else. Like I have a huge, that's something I really don't like. I'm not okay with my children bullying other people, and obviously the vice versa as well. And so when my children do bully, I've learned good ways to help, because every child ends up being a bully in some way, shape, or form, in my opinion, just because little kids are bullies. Like, they have to learn what's socially acceptable and what's not. And so I have found really good ways to help my children to learn to overcome that bullying and to become a better person despite the bullying kind of thing, and to not bully anymore. Number 6, I'm able to put my daughters, especially, in situations where I know that they can learn and that they can understand what being a beautiful person is. So I am all about being beautiful on the inside as well as the outside. Am I not? And when we are not being very nice, what do I say? Don't be ugly. I say don't be ugly, because I feel like ugly is in your actions more than it's in your looks. So we talk about not being ugly a lot, and especially with girls, I feel like it's harder for them to not be ugly than it is for boys, and so that's why I say it like that. Don't get me wrong, I think that boys have the issue too, but I feel like it's harder for girls to be nice. Like, it's natural for us to want to be catty and want to just kind of lash back out, whereas boys, it's something that's learned, in my opinion. Number 7, one of my pros, and this is another big one, is that I get to teach my kids life skills. I get to teach them to bake. I get to teach them how to deal with money. They get to help me with like grocery shopping and budgeting and all that jazz. And they have their allowances, which means that they're able to budget themselves, and we pay something called tithing. And so they know that 10% goes to the Lord and 10% goes to them, and so forth and so on. And so, I feel like that's a huge pro, because there's so many things that schools don't really teach, that they're just like, oh, we need to push this. But then, as a homeschool mom, I'm able to spend that extra time to actually help them understand like how things apply into their lives. 7, I get to teach them like proper speech, because I've noticed that my oldest, who has not been with me the whole time, he is so much worse about talking correctly than my younger kids are, because I've been able to teach them from a young age how to speak properly, instead of depending on a school or a teacher or a friend to teach them how to say things correctly. Another pro, I think this is 8 or 9, I can't remember now, is that I don't have to worry about being locked down to a certain time frame for things. So if I need to go grocery shopping, I can go grocery shopping at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Or if I don't have time to go, or if we decide to go on a field trip, for example, and we're gone from like 8 a.m. till like 4 in the afternoon, I don't have to worry about being back in time to pick up kids. You see what I'm saying? I'm not like stuck down to any specific time schedule. I don't have to have my kids up by a certain time in the morning. They don't have to be back for anything in the afternoons. I don't have to be back for anything in the afternoon. I can plan my day around what I want instead of what around they have to do. I keep my kids very busy, which is another pro of homeschooling. I'm able to keep my kids busy in a way that is helpful and conducive to their lives, and not just like just be busy to busy kind of thing. Like, they take piano. Well, they don't take piano now, but they will be taking piano, and they do sports. So like they play soccer and football, and they dance, and they my daughter loves to sing, and so we are going to look into singing lessons for her soon. Sorry, I'm almost done, so you don't have to worry about the screaming anymore. But, it's just stuff like that. I'm able to find things that I know they're interested in that they can do without having to worry about being on a different time schedule than I need to be, or that I want to be on. And I can fit it in throughout the day, like during the day, instead of having to worry about until after they get home, and then whether or not they have homework and all that other jazz. So yeah, those are my cons. If you can think of any more pros. These are my pros. If you can think of any more pros or cons, let me know. If I'm trying to figure out my commenting thing. So drop a comment if you can. I'll see if I can figure it out anyways. And let me know what your pros and cons are to homeschooling. I love to know, and I love to add on to my stuff. So hope you guys have a good week. I'll see you next Sunday. Say bye.
Bye.